Today is August 7th. These are most important events for this day through history. In 1975 is born Charlize Theron, an American actress, producer and fashion model. She has starred in several Hollywood films, such as The Devil's Advocate and Mad Max: Fury Road. On this day in 1917 is born Margretha, a Frisian exotic dancer and courtesan, who was convicted of being a spy and executed by firing squad in France under charges of espionage for Germany during World War I. Bruce Dickinson is born August 7, 1958. He is an English musician, airline pilot, and broadcaster. He is best known as the lead vocalist of the heavy metal band Iron Maiden. The Peace Bridge is an international bridge between Canada and the United States at the east end of Lake Erie at the source of the Niagara River, about 20 kilometers upriver of Niagara Falls. It connects the city of Buffalo, New York, in the United States to the town of Fort Erie, Ontario, in Canada. It is operated and maintained by the binational Buffalo and Fort Erie Public Bridge Authority. The official opening ceremony was on August 7, 1927, with approximately 100,000 in attendance. The festivities were transmitted to the public via radio in the first international coast-to-coast broadcast. Newspapers at the time estimated that as many as 50 million listeners may have heard the broadcast. The bridge remains one of North America's important commercial ports with 4,000 trucks crossing daily. Explorer 6, or S-2, was an American satellite launched on August 7, 1959. It was a small, spheroidal satellite designed to study trapped radiation of various energies, galactic cosmic rays, geomagnetism, radio propagation in the upper atmosphere, and the flux of micrometeorites. It also tested a scanning device designed for photographing the Earth's cloud cover, and transmitted the first pictures of Earth from orbit. The satellite was launched into a highly elliptical orbit with an initial local time of apogee of 9 p.m. The satellite was spin-stabilized at 2.8 rps, with the direction of the spin axis having a right ascension of 217 degrees and a declination of 23 degrees. 4 solar cell paddles mounted near its equator recharged the storage batteries while in orbit. Each experiment except the television scanner had 2 outputs, digital and analog. A UHF transmitter was used for the digital telemetry and the TV signal. 2 VHF transmitters were used to transmit the analog signal. The VHF transmitters were operated continuously. The UHF transmitter was operated for only a few hours each day. Only 3 of the solar cell paddles fully erected, and this occurred during spin-up rather than prior to spin-up as planned. Consequently, initial operation of the payload power supply was 63% nominal, and this decreased with time. Philippe Petit is a French high-wire artist, who gained fame in 1974 for his high-wire walk between the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, on the morning of 7 August. For his unauthorized feat 400 meters above the ground, he rigged a 200-kilogram cable, and used a custom-made 8-meter-long, 25-kilogram balancing pole. He performed for 45 minutes, making 8 passes along the wire. The next week all charges were dismissed in exchange for him doing a performance in Central Park for children. In 2008, Man on Wire, a documentary directed by James Marsh about Petty's walk between the towers, won numerous awards. He was also the subject of a children's book and an animated adaptation of it, released in 2005. The Walk, a movie based on Petty's walk, will be released in 2015. Starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Petit. The Washington Star, previously known as the Washington Star News and the Washington Evening Star, was a daily afternoon newspaper published in Washington, D.C. between 1852 and 1981. For most of that time, it was the city's newspaper of record, and the longtime home to columnist Mary McGrory and cartoonist Clifford K. Berryman. On August 7, 1981, after 128 years, the Washington Star ceased publication and filed for bankruptcy. In the bankruptcy sale, the Washington Post purchased the land and buildings owned by the Star, including its printing presses. On this day in 1972 died Joi Lansing. She was an American model, film and television actress, as well as a nightclub singer. On this day in 1994 died Lawrence Larry Martyn. He was an English actor known for his comedy performances. On this day in 1945 died Colonel Yu Wu. He was the fourth head of Anhaean Palace, a member of the imperial family of Korea. We must use time wisely, and forever realize that the time is always right to do right. Nelson Mandela.